Hello there and a very good morning. We hope you're enjoying this lovely Sunday morning, but it's not so lovely if you are an Australian supporter because there is a huge update as far as the Border Gavaskar Trophy is concerned and a huge blow that's now been dealt to the Australian side as far as their preparation and their squad or their playing 11 for the first test match in Nagpur is concerned. Lots coming up. There is news with regards to Ravi Shastri, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Vinod Kambli, and we've got the Premier League roundup as well in store for you. So very quickly, let's just run you through all the stories that we have in store for you. Starting with this big update coming from the Australian camp. Josh Hazlewood is ruled out of the first test match which is going to take place in Nagpur, and the reason for that is an Achilles niggle in his left leg. That's what he's felt now, and he goes on to say that it was perhaps something that was brewing since that test match in Sydney, because the surface over there was extremely damp when Australia were playing against South Africa, and he had to do a lot of hard running in, and it required a lot of effort to get that jump on that damp surface. So it was something that had begun to bother him back then, and just about 20 days later, 20-25 days from that point on, now Josh Hazlewood has been ruled out of the first test, leaving Australia with more injury concerns, because remember, you don't have a certain Mitch Stark as well, who is already nursing an injury in his thumb, and he also will be available only for the second test match. He's not even part of the squad right now. He will be joining the team later on when they are in the national capital for the second test match. But where do Australia look now as far as a replacement for Josh Hazlewood is concerned? We know he is a vital cog in this Australian bowling lineup, and of course, in the absence of Mitch Stark, a lot would have been expected from him, but he's not available now. In this scenario, now you obviously turn to somebody like a Boland, because he's got some experience. Yes, there is another fast bowler in the lineup, but you can't really look over there. It is going to be Boland who in all likelihood will now be replacing Josh Hazlewood as he continues to nurse this injury, which, as we were just telling you, happened all the way back in the Sydney test. That's when he started to feel the niggles, and just about in a couple of weeks from that point on, Josh Hazlewood, because of an Achilles niggle in his left leg, is now ruled out of the first test match in Nagpur. Let's now tell you more news with regards to the world of cricket. Well, R. Sridhar, the former coach of Team India, well, he has put out a book. He's written a book, and he's gone ahead and talked about a time when there were media reports doing the rounds of there being a certain Rohit camp and a Virat camp in the Indian team. He didn't go ahead and say that there were any camps, but there was a bit of an acknowledgement, let's say, of there being some differences between the two of them, because he said that ahead of the 2019 World Cup, when the team had landed in Lauderhill for a series against the West Indies, this was just 10 days before the 2019 World Cup. Remember, India had lost to New Zealand, and it was then that Ravi Shastri had to intervene and get things sorted, because there were a lot of reports doing the rounds that one of the two had unfollowed the other on social media, and there were multiple reports doing the rounds of there being differences between two of the most senior players in the Indian team. Ravi Shastri, in his typical manner, as candid as he always is with his players, he took Virat and Rohit into his room and he asked them to clear the air. And what R. Sridhar also goes ahead and says is, yes, of course, after that meeting that he had, after he asked, Ravi Shastri asked both Kohli and Rohit to get things cleared out between the two of them. Yes, there was a positive both of them managed to hit the restart button, build all over again, and they realized that, as Ravi Shastri had told them, that they are important players, and for Indian cricket to move forward, they need to be on the same page, and that's what happened. And from that point on, of course, the two have gone from strength to strength as far as their bond is concerned, and we continue to see the two of them in their own capacities lead Team India, be it on the field or be it as a captain, in whatever way. Their contributions to the Indian team continues just the same way as they did back then. What else do we have in store for you as far as the morning wrap is concerned? Well, Vinod Kambli is again in trouble. There is lots that keeps happening in his personal life, and yet again there is a little bit of a blow again on the personal life front, I would say, because Vinod Kambli has now been booked for assault, and the case has been and the complaint, I would say, has been filed by his wife Andrea. Andrea, in a complaint to the Bandra police station, she said that Vinod Kambli was drunk and he ill-treated her, he abused and assaulted her, and this happened in the presence of their two children as well. And a case has now been registered against Vinod Kambli. Though Vinod Kambli says he's got no idea about it, but Andrea, his wife, has now gone ahead and filed a case against Vinod Kambli, who now happens to be booked. And now speaking more on the lines of cricket only, an update that we had given you yesterday in the night as well. As far as the decision on the hosting of the Asia Cup is concerned, a decision on that has now been postponed to March now. What happened yesterday was there was a long meeting that took place in Bahrain. All the concerned stakeholders with regards to the Asia Cup were present. There was Jai Shah, there was the PCB chief Najam Sethi as well, and like we've seen not just from Najam Sethi but from his predecessor as well, we've seen Pakistan be extremely adamant about the fact that Team India should travel to Pakistan for the Asia Cup. And in fairness, yes, Pakistan do have the hosting rights for this year's edition of the Asia Cup, but India have made it very clear, and so has Jai Shah, the secretary of the BCCI, who also happens to be the president of the Asian Cricket Council, which had called the meeting yesterday and convened the meeting yesterday. But India's stand as far as this whole situation is concerned is extremely clear, that because of the political ties between the two nations, the Indian team will not be travelling to Pakistan for any form of sport, or be it cricket, be it anything else. And particularly for the Asia Cup, Jai Shah has very clearly stated that India's stance will not change and India will not be travelling to Pakistan for the Asia Cup. What those sources have told us as far as this meeting was concerned, that in many ways it was communicated to Pakistan that they'll have to move the tournament out, and there is no circumstance under which India will be travelling to Pakistan, and that's been communicated to Pakistan in its own way. And a formal decision, though, an official decision, will be taken in the month of March now, but it doesn't look like the situation is going to change. Is going to change in any way, and India's stance is going to be unwavering. What you can now look at is that the tournament now be held either in the UAE or, let's say, Sri Lanka as well, because Sri Lanka missed out on hosting the tournament last year, even when they had the hosting rights. And what we are getting to learn through sources is that Sri Lanka did show interest in hosting this year's edition of the 2023 or this year's Asia Cup, given the opportunity. So UAE and Sri Lanka look to be the two likely options as far as the Asia Cup for this year is concerned. Let's now move forward and tell you what else is happening around the world of sports. Shifting our focus now to the Premier League. Lots of action yesterday. It started with the game at Everton, though. Everton sealing a 1-0 victory against Arsenal at Goodison Park. You know, there's a lot happening on the managerial front. There's a lot happening on as far as the management is concerned. The Everton management is concerned. There were banners, there were there were some sort of protests outside the stadium which had taken place in the lead up to the game yesterday as well. But Everton stunning Arsenal by securing a 1-0 lead. It was a 1-0 match, and well, it was Tarkowski who scored in the second half, and Everton, well, you have to admire the fact that they defended for their lives yesterday, and they didn't give Arsenal a lot of chance in front of goal. Yes, Martin Odegaard had a chance, but he lifted the ball over the bar. There were a couple of chances here and there, but not as clear-cut chances as we've seen Arsenal create over this sustained run of games that they've enjoyed. Coming into the game, Arsenal had won 13, in fact, on a 13-game unbeaten run, as against Everton, who had not won a single game in their last games. But Sean Dyche, the new manager, first game at Goodison Park, and he's produced a magnificent result. And what this result, by the way, also means for Everton is that they have now moved away from the relegation zone, and they are presently on the 17th spot, and they moved out of the relegation zone. They were bottom of the table when the match had started, and well, all the three important points for them have now moved them away from the relegation. So what it means for Arsenal though is that their lead has now shrunk to 5 points. Yes, Manchester City do have a game tonight, an all important game I would say, against Tottenham Hotspur. City would have played an additional game as compared to Arsenal. Arsenal have played 20 games and they're now with 50 points as against Manchester City, who have 45 points at the moment. And if they are to win tonight's match against Spurs, they will shrink the gap, they will reduce the gap to only 2 points. But remember, Arsenal will still have a game in hand. Speaking now of the other match that took place just after the first one got over, was Manchester United hosting Crystal Palace. Manchester United, as we all know, have had a good run since the World Cup, and there's one man in particular who's thoroughly loved making this comeback of sorts after the World Cup, and that's Marcus Rashford. He's now scored 10 times since the conclusion of the World Cup, and yet again in that 2-1 victory that Manchester United secured over Crystal Palace at Old Trafford, it was Marcus Rashford who did score the all-important goal. Crystal Palace though did give it a fight. They did manage to get one back, and things became extremely testy after that. So last 10-15 minutes of the match were extremely competitive. You did see though, from a Manchester United perspective though, one of the things, yes, you'll be happy with the 3 points, but going forward, the fact that Casemiro was given a straight red card for holding Phil Hughes by the neck, that in many ways could be a problem going forward, because he will now have to serve a 3-match ban. Also, by the way, it was the first time only in Casemiro's career that he got a straight red card. Moving on to the third game that happened yesterday, and things not improving for Liverpool much. 3-0 scoreline, and it was the Wolves who completely dominated at the Molineux against Liverpool, who have been struggling. They were 10th in the league going into the match, and there's no improvement as such with regards to their squad. Not a lot of signings as well for Liverpool in January, and Jurgen Klopp just looking out of sorts right now. So does Mo Salah and the entire Liverpool team at the moment, and that scoreline is in many ways self-explanatory as to how the season has gone by for Liverpool. Not going much their way, and well, yes, things looking extremely bleak from a Liverpool perspective right now. So those were the 3 important games that took place yesterday in the Premier League. Of course, action resumes today as well, and it will be that Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspur game that takes place at 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time, which will determine how this how the title race now really takes shape, because Manchester United have done their bit. Manchester City now to ensure that they have some sort of cushion over Manchester United and they remain at least above Manchester United, they need this win to shrink the gap between Arsenal and themselves, and ensure that they give themselves a little bit of breathing room as well, because Manchester United are not just Manchester United, by the way, Newcastle as well are breathing right down their necks. It is turning out to be quite a battle to finish in the top 4. Of course, it is Manchester City and Arsenal who are leading the title race right now, but Newcastle United and Manchester United ensuring that they make their presence felt right up top as far as the Premier League table is concerned. For now, that's all the time that we have. Do let us know in the comments section below how you found this video, and do share it with your friends and family members. And like we always tell you, do like, share and subscribe to Sports Today. For now, my name is Harshit Ahuja. Thank you so much.